Welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell Rabin, and we're very glad that you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have not just a very interesting show, but a very important show. We have the Executive Director of the Strategic Defense of the Environment Group, Lisa Wessan, on with us, who's going to be speaking with us about this really excellent work that her organization is doing worldwide relative to helping to sustain the rainforest, increase education and awareness about the destruction, the rampant destruction of the rainforest, and what some people are doing about it. And this is one group that is taking a very active role in helping to preserve the rainforest, which is our source of oxygen, humidity, and, well, she'll be sharing with us some numbers, some facts that it's really important for all ears to hear. So thanks so much for being on the show, Lisa.
Thanks for having me here. It's
Absolutely.
Really exciting. I've been enjoying knowing you over the years, and it's a pleasure to be here today.
Oh, I'm really glad.
Yeah.
Lisa watches the show and has
Yes.
been just wonderful in giving me feedback. She has helped to improve the show from her home, and I've appreciated that. You know that, right?
Yeah. Well, I want to hear your guests. When you have a guest, I want to hear everything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, isn't that funny? I went out and got new microphones right before you came, and I didn't even realize.
I remember that was one of the first things I talked about.
That's right, exactly. Wonderful. Well, good. Now that you are a guest, we want all that you have to say to really get across. First of all, if you could just give the audience a little bit of an idea how it is that you became so concerned and interested in environmental issues.
Well, I've always been interested in health and healing on a personal level. Nutrition, food, air. Being outdoors and being healthy is important to me. But it really I began to see the problem of the environmental decline when I moved into a new building in New York, and when I turned on the faucets, the water was brown. I mean, it wasn't just like, it didn't just smell funny, whatever, it just was brown. And I realized that I had to...
Was it a light brown, a medium brown, or a dark brown?
It was like a lightish brown, like a tannish brown, but bad enough so that there's no way.
Nothing particularly drinkable.
Nothing. Anyway, I'll tell you something. It may seem like a small thing, but what happened was I got really upset.
No, it doesn't seem small at all.
I got very upset and very concerned that what has happened to our planet, that I have to go out and buy, and not just a water filter, I was to get the kind that attached to the sink, because it just seemed so serious to me. I wouldn't even trust one of those Brita ones, and I wanted to get like a serious, reverse osmosis, the whole business. Anyway, so, and...
Take out everything.
Take out everything. In this building, I'm in a very lovely building, but an old building. Anyway, so the pipes must be really bad too. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, sure.
So long story short, I just began to think about what's happening to the water, and I'm a writer and I'm a producer anyway, and I started writing articles about the water and what it became interested in this more academically, and also on a personal level. I actually talked about it with some friends and brought into a therapy session once and discussed how I'm really depressed about this. And my therapist at the time said, "Oh, don't be ridiculous. You're not depressed about the water. It's, it's something with your job or your boyfriend or whatever."
Your mother.
Yeah, mother. She invalidated it, and I said, "No, you're wrong."
No, you're right. It's Mother. It's Mother Earth.
Mother Earth. I said, it's not my boyfriend. It's not my job. I said, I really am depressed about this water right now, and I can't believe how bad. Once I started to do some research, Mitch, I saw how bad things really were. I didn't realize it. And I wrote this article, and it was published in the Ecopsychology newsletter at Stanford. Theodore Roszak actually asked me to write this. Theodore Roszak.
Wonderful.
So I wrote this article. It was published, then it was picked up, and it was reprinted in Adbusters, and it was reprinted in the Wall Street Journal. Did an article about my article and interviewed me, and it was reprinted in Sweden, and another. It became a big thing. This article that I wrote about my disgust about having to buy a water filter people wrote me letters, and so I got more involved. It just became like, I really am caring about this, and people, once you write an article, people actually write back to you at the newspaper. You don't often hear this. And I heard people say, have you thought of this? Have you done this? Have you spoken to the National Environment, the League of Conservation Voters? Because the way to get out of this depression is to take action. And what happened was I realized that my therapist wasn't going to help me with this at all. And what really became clear to me is that when I wrote a letter to a congressman, or when I joined the Creative Coalition, or I did some kind of action, I felt great. I felt personally save the whole world, obviously, but I can do something. And doing one little action, writing one letter a month or a week, completely solved my dilemma. And I'm doing something to contribute. And then one thing led to another, and how I became executive director of this foundation is the chairman who hired me. I've done some writing for him in the past, and we've always stayed in touch. His name is Kamel Benjaloun, and he's a wonderful man, very, very visionary, very caring. He's totally committed to preserving rainforests. It's taken up his whole life. So we're working together now. We're building this foundation to help preserve rainforests and teach indigenous people to be economically self-sufficient, because that's the key. The indigenous people are at the root of preserving rainforests and preserving a way of life even that helps. We can learn from them, you know.
Let's just
skipping ahead.
Yeah, well, let's just reiterate the point here that one of the reasons I think that the article you wrote had the kind of resonance that it did is because someone needing to get a filter is a symbol of incredible decay and serious problem on our hands. And it was symbolized in something apparently, seemingly so simple as getting a water filter. But why, and you properly asked it, would someone need a water filter if we're really taking proper care of our earth? Well, the answer is that we're not at all. It's in terrible, terrible order. And so you must have really pulled on a heartstring. And God bless you. This is really exactly the kind of action that we at A Better World are really looking to foster. Really. So I personally thank you, because I think it's so important. This seemingly small action, I don't think it's small. It might not have taken many hours, but what you did started a whole series, and if everyone could just hear that and realize that everyone's voice is important, everyone's voice.
Yeah, everybody counts.
Exactly. And if everyone were to do what you did or some facsimile thereof, we would have a different world, because the politicians will not get elected unless we vote and put certain ones in office or make a statement through voting, and that's just one part of it. I think letter writing is actually the most important thing.
Right, letter writing does incredible, creates, plus it's empowering. And you just feel good.
That's right.
I did something today.
I did something.
Don't tell me I'm the victim. You know, there are no victims, there are only volunteers. And I say, do something. Don't complain about it. You can complain for 5 minutes, and then you got to write a letter.
That's right. Then you got to get into action.
Yeah, because I don't want to hear it even. I myself included. I don't want to hear it. I want to hear, what can I do today? How can I help? How can I make a difference? How can I improve this thing? Because sitting around complaining, it's a downward spiral, and eventually we all get depressed. There's, the whole field of eco-psychology now, I mean, God bless them, they're addressing this, that very many people have low-grade depressions because the air, the water, the formaldehyde in the carpeting, sick building syndrome, it's just overwhelming, and people think...
Completely epidemic.
Asbestos, I mean, it's ridiculous, and I don't want to, again, the solutions.
Well, I think that the issue is, with eco-psychology, and what people need to address is not just the physical ailments that are occurring as a result of living in toxic soup, which we really, truly are in office buildings and even more in our homes, more than outside, but that I think there's an underlying depression that the source of our lives, Earth, is being eroded, and we all know it. It's like, imagine your own mother, her life being in jeopardy. How would you feel? Happy? No. You would feel depressed, sad, scared, concerned, and you would want to take action. And that is some knowledge that we all have at the base of our mind, that our true source of sustenance is being killed. And it's not for good reason. It's for the most selfish, most arrogant, and impudent of reasons. And
I know.
It's just so sad. So you really highlighted those, and I really am thankful, because I make these points a lot on the show, and it's it's nice to get some further corroboration from someone else. Tell us about more about why it is that this strategic defense organization was put together, the group was put together. What is it that's going on that we need to know about deforestation, Lisa?
All right, I'll be happy to share that with you.
Good.
And because these numbers are not totally memorized, I'm going to be accurate for the audience. I'm not making this up. This is totally right off.
Hot off the press.
The Foundation's published internet figures. 150 acres per minute are being destroyed of the rainforest globally all over, okay? And what that looks like is, actually, I don't have that in visuals. We have 2.5 acres per second, which is the equivalent of 2 U.S. football fields, are being destroyed. And then 150 acres... Worldwide. Not
per second.
Per second. 2.5 acres per second, which it looks like 2 U.S. football fields. Okay, then picture 150 acres per minute. So 150 acres per minute worldwide being destroyed. These are global rates of destruction for rainforests worldwide. 214 acres per day, which is an area larger than New York City, are going down every day. In a year, 78 million acres per year, which is an area larger than the country of Poland, are destroyed annually. That's globally. Now in Brazil...
That's a big country.
It's a big country, Poland. And then in Brazil, 5.4 million acres per year are destroyed annually. And
so is the rate of destruction greater there than anywhere else,
yes,
proportionately?
It is. It is. Every pharmaceutical company and Fortune 100 company in the world are down there mining and doing their business. You know, Monsanto, Mitsubishi, lumber, mahogany, whatever they can get out, pharmaceuticals. And 6 to 9 million indigenous people inhabited the Brazilian rainforest in 1500. And in 1992, less than 200,000 remained at the last census they took down there. So the people are also, I mean, they had millions and now they have 200,000. There were 16 tribes in the area that our foundation is working with. The Xingu is the largest and they're the ones we're most in touch with. But these numbers are hard. They're very hard. And
it's devastating.
The good news is there are lots of foundations besides us. I mean, there's, the Rainforest Alliance, Rainforest Action Network, many groups who are working together.
There are many environmental organizations. Right. But before you launch into that,
right, sure.
I know we want to have solutions because we need it, but in order to, me too, but we really need to cognize what it is we've done. I look at things, everything psychologically. Yeah, sure.
If you want, I can put them with me.
And we've got to look at what it is in our psyche that is allowing this kind of destruction, because we're the cause of it. This is the root. There's something going on inside us. There's something internal that is allowing us to be, in a sense, shooting ourselves in our own foot. And so the solutions must also address that, otherwise they're really not solutions.
Right.
So are there other figures that you would
the numbers
you feel?
There's one more I'll share with us
Please do.
Concerning species extinction.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. I'm glad.
This matter is often debated. Like some people say, well, evolution is happening every day, new species being created every day. It doesn't. This is what the typical developer or investment person will say, that it doesn't matter that we're losing species. The number that we're actually losing, scientists estimate that an average of 137 species of life forms are driven into extinction every day, or 50,000 a year. So as far as our biodiversity goes, and also the rainforest has the largest, rainforests are the most productive and most complex ecosystems on Earth, especially, Brazil has a tremendous range of life forms. So considering that rainforests only cover 2% of the Earth's surface, and they're home to some 50 to 70% of all of life on our planet, they're very intrinsic for survival. If we kill our rainforests, we're killing ourselves, basically. And it's not just rainforests. The chairman of our group, Mr. Benjamin, is always saying, rainforests, yes, that's our focus, but also all forests. All forests contribute to oxygen and biodiversity and life. The rainforests happen to be particularly rich, more than the average, birch forest in Vermont. Rainforests are much more diverse, but all forests contribute tremendously to our success as a species. So it's pretty much a form of suicide. It's almost like suicidal that we're doing this.
It is suicidal.
It's a death wish.
It is. That's what I was addressing with the statement about the self-destructive aspect of our psyche that allows this to continue and at this alarming rate. It's totally alarming.
Yeah.
And so people are living in their little apartments, in their lives, going about their business, worrying about bills, worrying about everything. These are very real facts. We're all faced with these things. And at the same time, all around us is this horrendous massive destruction. So now that brings us to a point of illness, actually, to total emotional illness. And now I'd love to hear what it is you guys are doing to turn the situation around.
Well, we have several projects in the works, and we're focused right now mostly on working with the indigenous people to help them take what they have.
You said the Jinku in particular?
The Jingu particularly.
Jingu.
The reason being, why the Jingu? Because Mr. Benjeloun has lived there for many years, and he's got relationships with them. Sidney Pozuelo, who is one of the best liaisons between the government of Brazil. He's the Minister of Justice for in Brazil. And in fact, he's recently been featured in the IMAX film at the Museum of Natural History. That movie, The Amazon, I don't know if you saw it. He was featured there as one of the people who, he's able to communicate with many of the groups there, that's why. And he also has Western sensibilities. So he's helping us. And he worked with us to work with them. What we're doing is they're being approached by all these different interests to scrape the vines off trees, to harvest, different botanicals. Ethnobotanists from every major pharmaceutical company in the world are down there now as we speak, trying to get these natives to work for them.
Stealing is what they're doing.
Okay, let's call it the way it is. So,
I mean, there's no respect for intellectual property rights.
They're biopirates. The word is biopirates. They go in. It's like what we did maybe when people settled this country. Basically how we treated the Indians. The same thing's going on today. It's just repeating. So what Mr. Benjeloun wants to do is to be able to help these people. You can't avoid it. There's no way to keep the industrialized nations out of there to do their profiteering. But to educate the indigenous people so that they will share in the profit, and also to be able to have them, there's a way of scraping the vines and harvesting where you don't hurt the rainforest. And then there's a way of doing it where you clear the whole thing and bring it back to the States and process it in the lab, which kills the rainforest. Right. So companies who are in a big hurry to make a profit will say, oh, the hell with the scraping, just take the whole tree. Because they don't care, So the idea is to teach, and they work with the indigenous people. If the indigenous people say, we're not cutting these trees down for you, no matter what you pay, what you do, then there'll be that resistance, and everything will go forward smoothly. And we also are trying to reach them to help them to develop several different products that they can harvest themselves and call their own, and the foundation will be sponsoring their work. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to empower them without controlling them. So it's educational work, it's mentoring work, and we are also working on helping them with their personal troubles right now with the cold. Believe it or not, and I love, we spoke earlier about the common cold. The Jingu right now are having a tremendous epidemic of death from what we call the common cold. But Mitch corrected me, it's not common, it's our cold is not
common to us.
It's common to us, it's not common to them. So we're also in the process of sending them echinacea and golden seal. We're getting gifts in kind donated from different organizations and sending it over there, and it's helping them with their common cold problems.
Well, this is one of the ways that the Spaniards and the Europeans wiped out large sections of the indigenous population here several centuries ago. They came over with their flus and germs, and actually the white European male was considered rather unclean from the Native American point of view. And I mean, just hundreds and thousands of people died because they were not prepared immunologically to handle the white man's diseases, and this is just that same phenomenon.
This whole field of ecotourism, I mean, it's very tricky because the idea of traveling to visit another country, but not, it's almost like Prime Directive. Remember from Star Trek, they're not interfering with their ways and not contaminating them, and it's hard to know when we travel to third world countries what we're doing to harm them, even just by being there. And yet we go, we visit, we want to go. So that's a whole new area of research, actually.
Well, I don't know. Tourism and coming over to another country with a pioneering spirit, I think, are two very different things. But I'm interested in knowing what more you are doing. I see that you're working out kind of oriented arrangements with the indigenous peoples of the Amazon rainforest.
Exactly.
Fostering sustainable practices,
Sustainable.
so they can make use of the resources, but in a responsible, sustainable way.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Now, why is this so difficult to fathom? This is so wonderful. I mean, this is called being a responsible, conservative business person, you know? Because if you kill the source of your revenue, in this case, the resources of the rainforest,
I have some good figures on
you will
that.
have nothing more to reap.
You don't like this
it's
one.
just so odd to me. From a strictly business, this is what I've been arguing for decades at this point, from a strictly business point of view, being ecological is the only way to go.
Smart, right?
It's
Economic
smart business.
Right. You're going to like
Yeah.
these figures because some scientists, some economic scientists have put together some figures. Projected economic value of 1 hectare in the Peruvian Amazon. Okay. If the forest is left intact and sustainably harvested for fruits, latex, timber, it's worth $6,820 per hectare. And 1 hectare is equal to 2.5 acres. Okay, to visualize it. So that's not bad, almost $7,000. If it's clear cut for commercial timber, not sustainably harvested, it's worth $1,000 a hectare. And if it's used as cattle pasture, which it often is done, it comes down to it's worth $148 per hectare. So that is not good business. I mean, this is wasting money, you know. And so
those are incredible numbers.
Right. It's actually
That's
true. So
incredible.
there's no point, and that's the trouble. Sometimes the indigenous, when they get really desperate, they'll clear land and think they're going to make money with animals, but they're wasting a huge resource, and that's what we want to prevent, because they're in trouble now. They're really having cultural problems, or whatever. I'm going into that, but they need to be educated to see this kind of profitability for them.
Well, part of the problem also historically, Lisa, and I know you know this, is that there has been cultural rape and cultural pillage and plunder. So many native peoples don't have the resource of their own wisdom anymore. They don't have the medicine knowledge that they used to have. I mean, some people have it. I mean, it is being preserved in some corners for sure. In fact, a lot of really great stuff. But it's nothing in comparison to what it was. So they're losing their own sense of the land in a way, and the sense of the place. And so they are relying on external sources of information about even taking care of their own land properly, you know. So you also have a conference coming up in Morocco.
In Rabat. Yes,
Yeah.
the Imperial City Rabat is. I'm going to be there in a few weeks, but it's supposed to be beautiful. Lots of what are those, minarets and beautiful mosques.
Yeah.
And we're going to be having. Right now, there's 6,000 people registered, and many.
There's an international conference on deforestation.
Deforestation. Well,
What is the name of the conference?
It's called the Rainforest Conference.
Oh, okay.
It's
That's simple.
It translates easily because we in Morocco it's being translated into French and Arabic and English, and we're also going to have German and Spanish translators too.
Wonderful.
So it's Rainforest Conference. Everyone gets it.
And is your organization sponsoring the conference?
It's a joint effort where we're doing this with BMCE Bank, which is based in Morocco, is one of the sponsors, and they've made BMCE Bank has made a huge commitment to preserve rainforests and the environment, and they give a lot of good percentage of their profit to environmental causes.
Really?
SDEG being one of them.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And also they have a higher consciousness about it for bankers. Anyway, and also we have there are groups from the United Nations.
It sounds that way.
There's groups from the United Nations.
I hope that other bankers can see that as a model of behavior.
They see the value. They see the potential profit.
And
it's worth it.
I would most like it if they saw it not only for the number crunchers on paper, but also actually felt it in their heart, the importance of preservation of something as dear as life, because that's what it's synonymous with.
Exactly.
Anyway, please go on.
Yeah, we're going to have many leading scientists from all over the world speaking on the solutions. They're going to do what we did here, but more expanded. The horrors and then the solution. So we're going to hear the reports. I'm going to get some fresh statistics from researchers coming out now from different think tanks. And then we're going to have presented by Mr. Benjaloon, by Sidney Pozuelo, by several other ministers of environment from different countries. We have people coming. Half the group there is going to be government people, ministers of the interior and government environment.
Would you know, Lisa, if over the past 20 or 30 years, has there been a steady decline of the rainforest, or has there been any, if you were to chart it on a graph, since there's been more outcry and many more environmental groups being formed and taking action, and individuals taking action like yourself and myself and others, do you know what the graph looks like about more or less destruction happening?
That's a good question. I would like to think it's been arrested somewhat, but at the same time that there's more consciousness to preserve it, there's been more interest in supplements and vitamins and these natural herbs that come out of the rainforest. So the pharmaceutical, and now the
drugs,
as you know, the pharmaceutical companies have stepped up their production of homeopathics with it competing with alternative medicine. So that's good. I could find that out probably, and I'll get back to you on that.
Sure.
I can't
great.
say. I hope.
Yeah, sure.
It's hard to say because both those energies are rising. It's hard to say.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point, because from the New England Journal of Medicine article that came out a few years ago that showed that there is a significant proportion of the population that either don't go to MDs anymore at all, or those that do have, I think it was at least 1 in 5, showed that they also went to an alternative, so-called alternative doctor for things as far-ranging as acupuncture all the way to crystal healing. I was kind of amazed at the variety of people they went to. But market share had shifted, and the pharmaceuticals are doing everything they can to control the so-called alternative marketplace. But
and the bulk of that comes from the Amazon and other rainforests, the cat's claw and all those different products.
God. Don't get me started with that part. Exactly.
So who knows? But at the conference, we're going to have solutions. It's going to be on national television in Morocco.
Great. And the dates are? The date's
October 31st. And if anybody's interested, you can call the office. There's still tickets available. In fact, if somebody wants to go, you could hop on a plane and go. It's beautiful in Rabat. Rabat's about an hour from...
Sure. Give them your phone number.
Yeah. The phone number is the Strategic Defense of the Environment Group, and it's 212-724-929. That's 212-724-9429. And you can call for information.
Absolutely.
And we can tell you what's going on. Direct
whoever calls, and even if it's not to go to Morocco, which that would be a great place to go, but there's other information. You can learn more about what the Strategic Defense of the Environment Group is doing, and maybe how you can help out, people to write to, or any number of...
Exactly. We can give you...
Well, you heard it. State of the environment, not good. Who's responsible? All of us. So please take Lisa's words to heart. Take the research that's been done by scientists all over the world to heart, because that's where it needs to go for proper changes to take place. I want to thank you again, Lisa, for being on the show and sharing with us that hard-hitting information and what your organization is doing about it.
Thank you. It was wonderful being a guest on your show. Thank you.
Oh, sure. Pleasure to have you.
Here.
Truly.
You do great work, Mitch.
Really. Thanks, Lisa. Really appreciate what you're doing, too, and what's going on with rallying about this most important thing. As I told you, I was at the Indigenous Peoples Conference just last week in Virginia Beach, and the main subject was the destruction of the environment and destruction of cultures and plant rights and all sorts of things that are going on, the rape of these cultures and their plant medicines. So what you're doing, your whole organization is doing, I really take my hat off, and I'll see how I can get involved too.
I'll say write a letter is my final word. Write a letter. And if you don't know who to write to, call us and we will tell you who to write to, your congressperson, whatever you need. We'll let you know.
Excellent. So good. Thanks again. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World. Thanks so much for joining us. Please give me a call at 212-420-0800. Share your thoughts and feelings with me. I love hearing from you, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.